Welcome to another session of TriTech University. My name is Bill Steppen, and today we're going to be taking a look at AIM's non-inventory features for any services that you wish to track sales of without messing up your inventory figures. This is going to set the stage for a variety of other features down the road, such as services, memberships, fees, other things that you want to track sales of, but you don't want to put these in as inventory because then you have to refill quantities. And if you don't refill them, then they're going to show in negatives. And basically, non-inventory is a way to keep your system nice and clean while still giving you the ability to track all of these numbers. Following our usual workflow, we're going to explore the basic setup. We're going to look at how these tie into other areas of AIM, such as Ledger and things like that. We're going to take a look at how to set these up for point of sale. We'll wrap up with some reports, and as always, if you have any questions throughout this entire webinar, we're going to make sure to get those answered as well. In your GoToWebinar platform, there will be an option in the toolbar, either on the side of the screen where it's usually docked in the desktop or laptop modes, or if you're joining via mobile, there'll be a little question mark icon that you can tap on in there. And that way I will see my questions appear, or your questions rather, appear on screen. So we'll get those answered as soon as we can. And if I don't get to them right away, I will definitely get to them by the end of the session. So without further ado, let's go ahead and switch over to my screen. So when it comes to setting up your non-inventory categories, you are going to find these in maintenance. These are exclusively in maintenance, unlike inventory last week where you set up the categories and then you go to add those within modules. Now, these are going to be found in the ledger area. So within ledger, you're going to see two options here for non-inventory categories and non-inventory subcategories. We're going to look at both of these, but subcategories are actually optional. You don't need them to take advantage of non-inventory categories in AIM, unlike inventory where you have to have at least a category and a subcategory that you can then use when you're putting your SKUs in. So let's go ahead and take a look at non-inventory categories. So as we can see, when you are going into non-inventory categories, um, there's already going to be some in here for you. So just like we were talking about last week, where depending on the industry you chose, there are certain non-inventory or excuse me, I've got non-inventory on the brain. There are certain inventory categories already established for you, depending on your industry. There's, when it comes to non-inventory, there's a plethora of kind of more generic non-inventory categories to get you started. If you've never gone in here, you should see these just kind of like as is. You're going to see things like service labors, outside service labors, service parts, shipping, gift certificates, etc. Whether or not you use these is entirely up to you. But the the core of non-inventory categories is basically a number. They're going to have a description. They're going to be taxable or not, and if they are taxable, you can choose whatever tax rate they're associated with. And then you'll have a series of checkbox options here, such as whether discounts are allowed, whether price includes tax, if they're loyalty exempt, kind of things like that. We're not going to dive into all of these different functions. At a bare minimum, if you're going to add a non-inventory category, you can simply come down here and click the add button. It will technically assign you a category number here in version 12. There's a question coming in, is this new in version 12 or is this available in version 11 and older? And these actually have been a part of AIM going back many versions. I believe all the way back to version 4 and even into DOS, if I remember correctly. They might not have been called non-inventory in DOS, but the concept remains the same. So yes, they are available. And I do apologize that the screen is a little small. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to zoom in. If I make the window bigger, unlike in version 11, it just makes the tables bigger. It doesn't really zoom in on them, so I do apologize. Pat. So sorry about that. Anyway, like I was saying, when you're adding a non-inventory category, in version 12, it will actually assign you the next available category number. You have a choice between 100 and 499. Actually, Pat, now that I'm thinking about it, there should be a control in GoToWebinar where you can actually zoom in. I'm afraid I don't know exactly what it looks like, but there should be an option for you to be able to zoom in on the screen if it is too small, now that I'm thinking about it. Okay, train of thought, back on track. So all you need is a category, a description, and then basically just to choose whether it's taxable or not. Now, when it comes to the bookkeeping side of this, if you are intending to use the bookkeeping part of AIM, you'll probably want to make sure that you choose an appropriate ledger account. Basically, the concept of ledger is every time you record a transaction against this category, AIM will take that amount and it will apply it to whatever ledger number you associate with that type of account. So if you sell, for example, $50 worth of service labor, let me just bring that back up to the forefront here. If you sell $50 worth of service labor, it will record $50 into 520-1 service labor by default. They don't always have to be revenue accounts. I should give the disclaimer, I am by no means a CPA. I've taken a few financial accounting courses, but if you have any questions about what accounts do what or where they should be reporting to, you'll definitely want to check with your bookkeeper, with your CPA. So you'll notice that, for example, gift certificates, when we're selling a gift certificate, that's actually going to be recording to a 209-20 gift certificate account. So basically, when you sell a gift certificate, we're not recording that immediately as revenue. That's going into a liability holding account so that when someone comes back and redeems that gift certificate, it will actually be pulled from that liability and then recorded to whatever it was purchased. So that's kind of the concept of that. So anyway, if you're planning on using the bookkeeping, you'll probably want to make sure you've got a corresponding ledger account that goes with it. If you need to, you can always press F6 while you're in that ledger field. And let's see if I can get my F6 to work. My keyboard's been acting up on me today. There we go. By pressing F6 on that ledger field, it brings up this select ledger window. So it's a little bit easier to try and find a respective category. So if you were looking for, like, let's say something to do with miscellaneous, you can just start typing that in and you'll see it drills right down to anything that has that term in its description. So just kind of keep that in mind. So basically, if you're going to use ledger, you'll want to make sure you select it. If you don't select a ledger account, you can still technically create the category. Just be cognizant that anytime you record a sale against that, it will be putting your ledger out of balance. If you're not using the system to track ledger, not a big deal at all. So just keep that in mind. Now, a few other things here. These may not play into all of your non-inventory categories, but there are a few other things here, such as a minimum age. If you are going to be using the system to track things where you want to make sure the person is of age to make that purchase, and I've got some alcoholic beverage options down here as an example, I've got that set to a minimum age of 21. So then basically anytime I record a sale against that, AIM will know to pop up a window asking me to either scan the customer's driver's license or otherwise key in their date of birth, and then AIM will know whether or not to allow that sale. If they are below the minimum age, it'll pop up and say you can't do that. It'll only ever ask you that once per sale. So if you do have multiple types of items that need to record that that age verification, such as cigarettes as well as alcohol or whatever it might be, it only ever asks you that one time per sale. And if you've got the customer on file and you've got their birthday on file, it will keep track of that too. So you don't have to scan it for, a long-term customer or anything like that. For those of you in our golf industry that are using AIM for your pro shop and golf course solutions, If you are going to be setting up green fees and cart rentals, you'll want to make sure that you associate the non-inventory category with those respectively, so that when you are checking in your customers off of the built-in T-sheet, it can know that when they purchase or pay for that green fee or that cart rental, it can display that as having been paid on the T-sheet. So just something to keep in mind with that. Otherwise, this is all that you need to start recording transactions of non-inventory sales. Now, as an addition to this, if you want to establish further some different types of non-inventory within that, as well as specific prices, that's where the non-inventory subcategories come into play. I only have a couple of examples in here. For example, in the alcoholic beverages category, I have a subcategory of beer, and I've got that as a price of $5. So basically, the way that subcategories work is it allows you to further define for reporting purposes, what kinds of sales you had within that category, as well as establish specific price points. If we're talking about things like memberships, you could have the memberships as a category, and then you could have individual, family, gold, silver, platinum, senior, other these different types of memberships below that. Getting outside of more industry specific type examples, let's talk about gift certificates. If you wanted to sell gift certificates in specific denominations, you could come in here and you could add those as subcategories. So we'll go ahead and we'll set that up. I click the add button. In the category choice, I choose gift certificate. It'll automatically pick the subcategory for me of one and work its way up. Let's say that this is a $25 certificate, and I'm going to put that in as $25 and save that. And let's say I also want to sell those in $50 increments. Same thing. Hit the add button. Back up into the category drop-down. Choose gift certificate. This is subcategory 2. Let's say that this is $50 certificate and 50, and save that. You might notice there are some functions here as far as third-party references, additional printers, coupons, things like that. These are all optional. The whole idea with this is if you do want to have some kind of additional reference that's being tracked along with the sale, you can put that in there for maybe some type of external system. When it comes to this additional printer concept, you might notice that the only two options in here are printer A and B. This is especially useful for you folks attending here that are planning on using this for, let's say, a type of bar and grill type setup. So the concept here is if you are selling, let's say, some food items and some drink items, and you want to alert the kitchen or you want to alert the bar that they need to start prepping some entrees or start mixing some drinks or whatever it might be, you have the ability to send that food item or that whatever that item is to either printer A or printer B. Where do those get set up? I'm glad you asked. In your workstation settings per computer, so that's maintenance, general maintenance, and workstations. You can come into this area, and on the POS tab in the devices sub-tab, you can select per computer your printer A and B. So basically whatever printers you pick for that computer, if something is set to print to either printer A or B, it will send that print job to that printer as soon as you transact that process. So just kind of keep that in mind. Anyway, getting back to subcategories, that's basically the idea with it. So let me know if there's any questions on that. Otherwise, we're pretty much done with the setup. Now, when it comes to AIMS point of sale, when we're talking about inventory, we're talking about things that you can put into the system and then you can scan the barcode on the product. You don't have that luxury with non-inventory. So you will want to more than likely make sure that you set these up as buttons for the point of sale screen. So let's take a look at that. We will, excuse me, let me take a quick drink here. Good old dihydrogen monoxide. For your point of sale setup, you will want to go into that maintenance and general maintenance menu, and you're going to want to take a look at point of sale menus. I'll have another webinar coming up on this that goes more into depth on menu structure and setup as a whole. But for now, let's just take a look at how non-inventory categories fit into this equation. So here in the point of sale menu editor, I already have a bunch of menus already set up. You will as well. You're going to have a series of what are called default point of sale menus. And one of those will be what's called a sell other menu. You'll see this up here, the button for it over to the upper left here. If I right click on that button and take a look at how that button is set up with this set or change function option, like I said, I'm going to go into more detail on this in an upcoming webinar on menu structure. But the button type is a jump button. And what is it going to do? It's going to jump to a specific menu. In this case, it's jumping to the sell other menu. So over here, by default, I and you will have a sell other menu. What does that menu look like? Let's take a look at it. So I just come over here and I click on it. And now we've got the buttons here for those default non-inventory categories that come with every installation of AIM: service labor, outside service labor, service parts, et cetera, et cetera. If we right click on one of these buttons and take a look at its function, we can see that the button type is non-inventory category. And more so, this one is selling the service labor category. Notice how there's nothing in the subcategory dropdown because I didn't set up any subcategories for service labor. But if I go to the gift certificate button and I right click and take a look at its function, right now this is set to just sell generically gift certificates as a whole. But now that I've set up a subcategory or two for it, I will want to make sure that I go ahead and I select those. So let's make this one be the $25 one. You can see in the drop down for subcategories, I've got $25 gift certificate. I'm going to go ahead and click the default button up here. And remember how I set the price at the subcategory level. So I don't need to worry about a price point here. More so, I don't have to worry about prompting for a price. By default, all of these buttons are set to prompt for a price because they don't have any subcategories at first installation. But if I uncheck that, I'll go ahead and save that. And you can see it now says $25 certificate because I set the caption as such. Let's say I'm not going to be dealing with any kind of gratuities. So I can come down here, I can right click on that button. I'm going to make this be the $50 gift certificate button. So what do? It's already a non-inventory category type. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to select the gift certificate category. And I'm going to go ahead and pick the $50 gift certificate. As soon as I pick that, I can click the default button, pull that in as the caption. Once again, I'm going to leave the price blank here because it's set at the price point of the subcategory. And I'm going to go ahead and uncheck prompt for price. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And there it is. I also want this one up by the $25 certificate. So I'm just going to basically swap these buttons right around just like so. Now, if you're like me and you like to make sure these are all 100% lined up, just a little quickly, a pro tip when it comes to the menu structure. Again, we'll look into this more in depth in an upcoming webinar on menus. But if I right click on the button, we can see there are some figures here for left and top and width and height. These are in pixels. So this is 449 pixels from the left edge, and it's 129 from the top edge. If I right click and look at this one, we can see this has a left of 280 and a top of 130. And this has a left of 450 and a top of 80. So what does that mean? If I come back here, I want this top of this button to line up with the top of this button. I don't know if it's perceptible. Maybe it's just because I'm a geek, but I can see this is just ever so slightly above that button. And this is just ever so slightly to the left of this one. So I'm going to make this top be 130 and click OK. And then it just jigs down just a little bit. Likewise, this one needs to be 450. So I'm going to go ahead and set that one as such. There are some functions where you can snap it to the grid. Uh, uh, I'm going to be honest, that snap to grid is a little bouncy. I have reported that to our development team. It's kind of a little bit lower on the platform or the totem pole of priorities. So you can try using that. The main issue with that is these default menus were created without them being snapped to a grid. So if you try to use the snap to grid for the existing menu, you might find it snapping to it will snap to a grid. It's just not going to be the same grid as the existing buttons. So just kind of keep that in mind. Not that it's buggy, it's just something to keep in mind, really. So, but anyway, that is how you set up your buttons for non-inventory for point of sale. So again, there's really nothing to scan. You want to be able to sell them. So that's how these work in version 12. Now, someone did ask, are these available in version 11? They are, and then you can, with the kind of the original, I'll call it the classic point of sale screen, they were just in a drop-down menu that you can select. And I will actually show you how you can still use that here in version 12 in just a moment. For now, let's go ahead and save our changes. We'll exit out of here. And let's take a look at how this works now in point of sale proper. I'm just going to go into a quick sale. That way I don't have to worry about selecting a customer or anything like that. Again, we'll talk about point of sale in an upcoming webinar as well. But for now, here we can see there's my point of sale menu that I was just kind of working with in the editor. Let's go into the sell other menu. And there's my $25 certificate and my $50 certificate. If I click on that, you can see it just immediately pulls that in as a $25 gift certificate. Same thing for the $50 certificate. Remember how the service labor button was set up as a generic sale of just that category without having a specific, basically a specific dollar value or anything like that. When I click on it, you can see it comes up and asks me for the specific price of service labor. So let's say I'm just selling $25 worth of that. I just plunge that in and hit save. And there we go. You can see that adds that to the sale. Now, remember what I was saying in version 11, you can sell that just through a drop down. In version 12, it defaults to our new structure of point of sale, where everything you scan or click on immediately goes into the transaction. If you would like to still use that classic point of sale function in version 12, hitting F5 while you're in point of sale gets you back to that mode. This is probably more familiar for those of you who have come from version 11 and older into version 12. You can see it's got that, what we call that classic point of sale look, and all of your categories are here available in drop-down form. You'll notice if I select alcoholic beverages, which I do not have a button for over here, as soon as I keep on going with that, it's going to ask me to select that subcategory. And then that pulls that in at that $5 price point. And of course, it's going to ask me to scan my driver's license, and I don't have that on me, so can't sell that. But anyway, Diane is saying that the webinar is blurry and you're getting a side view of me. Well, there is a side view of me on the screen. If you're not seeing the rest of it, I'm not sure, Diane. I'm not sure what kind of device you're on. Is anyone else having any problems viewing the webinar? But as far as I can tell, everything is going good. I'm seeing everything displaying appropriately. So Diane, I'm not sure how to fix that. You can try closing out and coming back in. The whole session is being recorded, so you should be able to come back and view the recording afterwards anyway. It is blurry, huh? That is interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's blurry. I will play around some more with the settings. I'm not really doing anything different, but it could actually, for what it's worth, it could just be, the internet. Anyway, we'll look more into it. If nothing else, we'll make sure that the recording is nice and clear. So, but who knows, right? It's I call this the 13th month of 2020. So hopefully 2021 will start next month and it'll be all good. Anyway, let's just make sure we talk a little bit about, so hopefully again, this makes sense as far as the sales. When it comes to recording those sales, or rather seeing how you're doing as far as all of those transactions are occurring, if we take a look into reports, so we'll go into reports, and you might notice there's really no non-inventory menu when it comes to the reports, and you'll actually find those kind of embedded within the inventory reports. So for example, if we take a look at sold inventory, there's really no current inventory when it comes to non-inventory. It's all sold. So if we take a look at, for example, sold inventory by category, you'll notice over here in the category dropdown, or the category listings, are not only all of your inventory categories, but all of your non-inventory categories as well. So alcoholic beverages, if I keep on going down, there's my batting cage category that I also had set up as non-inventory, and so on and so forth. So you'll be able to run your reports right there with your non-inventory right alongside your inventory. And if you don't necessarily want to select your non-inventory categories one by one up here, you can also just come down here. If you want to report exclusively on non-inventory, you could just come down here and uncheck the serial and accessory options and leave non-inventory selected. And then that way, when you run this report, it would be specifically for your non-inventory sales. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, it's actually something that's been around for a while. I just never really thought to bring it to the forefront. As we get more and more people on board with AIM and version 12, I figured, hey, let's just talk a little bit about this, because I don't know if everyone knows that it's there. So it is, and it has been for some time. I'm not sure why it was blurry there for you. Again, I do apologize. We'll make sure we get those figured out for next time. Like I said, it could be elements outside of my control. But if there's any other questions, I will be more than happy to answer those as best as I can. Let's talk a little bit about the upcoming webinars. So let me just pull up our webinar listing on our website here. So if you go to our website at tritechretail.com, let's go ahead and switch back to that. So on our website at tritechretail.com, you'll go into the member portal. I'm sure you all know about this because you all registered for this webinar, but you'll go ahead, you'll go into the program updates area, you will go ahead and log in. And then up here is the link for not only the upcoming webinars, but all of the recorded ones as well. So next week, we are going to be talking about inventory attributes. Kicking off February, we're going to be looking into the menu structure and point of sale. 2 webinars on that, the setup of the menus, and then the actual usage of point of sale with all of those available functions like layaways and proposals and delayed deliveries and all that fun stuff. So we are still planning on 3 webinars every month, the 2nd and 4th Tuesday, as well as the 3rd Thursday, if I remember correctly. Yep, there's the structure up there. So if you have any webinars that you would like to suggest, definitely reach out to me. You can email me at training@tritechretail.com. I still have technologyforretailers.com on the brain, even though we've been rebranded for over a year now. So yeah, training@tritechretail.com. If you have any webinar suggestions, I'm basically looking to get all of the old webinars updated in a more crisp and concise format, as well as with them all being rebranded now to have the AIM logo on them. But we'll have plenty of opportunities to do some brand new webinars as well, like this one. So any suggestions, I'll be more than happy to take them into consideration and get some additional webinars where I can. So thank you so much for your attending and your continued support of TriTech. It helps us to turn around and develop the products and services that allow you to grow your business. And we couldn't be here without you. So appreciate your attention, appreciate your business. We'll stay in touch. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.